It's like a Batman movie, but backwards. Spiky Bits. Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Rob Bear from SpikyBits.com, and today I wanted to share with you a preview copy of the new Arkham Asylum board game from Night Models. They sent this over to us ahead of their Kickstarter to kind of take a look at and share with you all. We're not going to play the board game. We're not going to learn the board game because that's not our thing here, right? I couldn't tell you what worker placement or replacement is. I don't even know what it's called from any of the other stuff. But I like board games. I like to play them sometimes. They're fun for me. It's not my focus. What our focus is telling y'all if we think something's cool, and if it's of value to you, then hey, pick it up, vote with your hobby dollars, right? Unfortunately, I don't have a Kickstarter preview page to show you. I don't know what this is going to sell for. I assume it's going to be reasonably priced. I hope it's going to be reasonably priced. Otherwise, I'm going to look kind of silly. But that being said, I've always been pretty happy with Night Models, and it's always good to kind of help, promote some of those other companies out there that have been putting out great miniatures for 20 some years almost, and just really kind of help them get grow and all ships to kind of rise with the tide. And hopefully this Kickstarter definitely helps them. The figures are going to be in plastic. Everything else is pretty much, I think, close to what it's going to be when it comes out in Kickstarter format. But just kind of keep in mind, the miniatures, if you see them, they are a little rough. I like the sculpts. I think they've got great potential. Can probably use them in some of the Night Models, some of the Batman miniatures game or the multiverse game if you really wanted to, but this is not a final product, so just please remember that. Like every other comment doesn't need to be, I don't like the miniatures, because I get it. They're not that hot looking. I'm not going to focus on the miniatures. What I am going to focus on is the components and kind of how the game plays, because that, to me, is pretty interesting. So here's the box, and I'm not going to flip this over to show you the back right off the bat, but it's all, the components and all the packaging is, you can tell they've definitely spent a lot of time and effort on it. The miniatures themselves are kind of locked in here, and yeah, they like I said, I like the sculpts. They're about the same size as the current BMG minis that they have out there, but the material, it's kind of, it's not a finished product, I guess is the best thing to say. But there is a ton of these miniatures, and you've got some orderlies and nurses and not cops, but these SWAT dudes. I love these SWAT dudes. Check these dudes out. Like, they are just cool. They got this little riot shield. I think they're called shock troops or something. Those are pretty cool. I'm loving those guys. And once you get through all of the miniatures there, you get into the trays and the components and things. And of course, there might be some third-party offerings that have like foam thing inserts, so you can keep everything kind of sorted. But for the most part, this is everything here. There's going to be more. They didn't send us. I guess this isn't everything. There's more villain, or I guess character cards here. There's only 3 in here, but I think there's 7 total. There's a security panel, and then like the how to build your little things that you got to do. It's basically like a scavenger hunt that you're trying to escape out of Arkham Asylum, which I think is just hilarious. And you have to like get all this random eclectic things or craft them by stealing other components. One of them is like the boss man's like of the cop that like runs the place, the security agent guy. I don't know what he's called. I never heard of him before. It's like Mr. Cash or something. But all the components are in here, all the cards and everything, and we'll kind of break that down a little bit more. But it's all pretty vibrant and everything. I don't know if it's going to come with any sort of coating or anything like that when the final copies come out. But as far as like, presentation and, this is easy to understand, I get it. Because for most people, we're not going to want to spend a bunch of time reading a bunch of rules and trying to figure out a game. We just kind of want to dig in and go. So for a quick start sort of thing, there's 7 different villains. We only have the cards for 3, which is more than enough to kind of show you and tell you, kind of what I think about the game. So those are the character cards, and there's upgrade cards. And there's a couple different modes of play. Like if you're doing easy mode, which there is an easy mode, you get some of these upgrades for free for your character, which is kind of cool to have. But it also kind of like, might make it a little easy, obviously. This is the first mission they say to basically go with this zipline escape plan, and this is like what you're trying to do. It's super scavenger hunt to escape from Arkham Asylum, right? And like one of the things is Aaron Cash's Hook, which is the boss guy, and he literally has like a Captain Hook that you're trying to steal, like prosthetic limb that you're trying to steal to escape with. And he's one of these bosses here, and here's the Batman cards and then Batman stuff. You don't actually get to play with him, and there he is, Aaron Cash. So you know, you gotta like get the claw from him and use it to like fashion all this. This is kind of, it's wacky and it's crazy, and this is like written in crayon, which is, you know, these guys might be evil villains or evil geniuses, but it doesn't mean, you know, the most artistic or the most like literate of folks, right? So it's literally written in crayon. I love it. I saw this and I just kind of laughed out loud because it's just utterly hilarious. And then as far as the game board itself, it's very dynamic. Like it's very uncertain and unsettling. You don't really know like what it's gonna be because it just kind of evolves somehow, which is kind of interesting. Like once you kind of think about it. So this is the basic setup, and there's some doors you can't see line of sight, but if it's clear on the corridor you can, and there's guys and stuff, and depending on how many players you're playing, which incidentally there's 7 figures, you can play up to 5 players, so everybody has to have the same amount of super villains. But if you don't play with 5, you could actually play with multiple super villains and kind of go a little crazy. And then if you do, you get like extra quarters, but also you're gonna have to fight extra dudes too, because it like scales up, which is kind of cool. And then like the boss is Aaron Cash, like I just showed you for this one. So that's basically how the setup. You might not even play the same game twice. We saw this in Games Workshop stuff, like the Blackstone Fortress kind of mechanic, which I thought was pretty neat. So this is basically what you're gonna do, and then there's upgrades, there's trackers, and there's all sorts of things that are gonna come into play a little bit too, which we can take a look at. So this is the security panel, which basically keeps track of all the goings-ons. And remember, you have your what is this thing here? The plan, the escape plan. So there's going to be different escape plans, and some of these double as, I guess, rooms too on the back. Again, we don't have a whole lot of the components. I'm sure this thing's going to be chock full. But this is your kind of your heads up, like what's going on. These are your turns before like Gotham City police department storms and shuts it all down, and then I guess you lost. Either Batman tied you up or Aaron Cash tied you up, or you just didn't complete the thing. I don't exactly know. These are like the random mob, I guess they're the challenge cards that you're going to come across, and they're color coded. I don't exactly know why, but I'm sure there's a reason for it. Now, they are going to correspond to the bottoms of the base here. Again, remember, these aren't the actual figures that you're going to get, but and then there's some various security guards like this one here, and then there's the one that looks like he's shooting a taser. I like these shock guards, which I showed you with the storm shields or the riot shields right there, and there's 3 different ones that correspond, of course, to the 3 different ones in the set here. So there's your small, medium, and large. I don't really know, but there they are. Pretty neat. So this is basically how you control everything, whereas the escape plan is what you're trying to do, and of course, you add stuff basically to scale it as well. Almost through all the components. So this is the infamy tracker, and you rotate it clockwise every turn, I think, and it triggers other actions that happen in relation to the card, or some of the cards get flipped, and I guess that's just kind of how it advances everything there as far as that goes. And then there's skill cards that I already showed you that can also kind of line up with the character themselves. There's 3 color sets of dice here, and depending on which one the actions will call for, depends on how difficult it is to do. So the black dice have the lowest chance of obtaining a success. That's probably why there's more of them. Pink dice are the most powerful, obviously, and the green ones are the more intermediate ones. So you can kind of keep that in mind as you're called to do different ability tests, and to pass or fail these sort of things, and to kind of complete all the little things, run around trying to do that scavenger hunt. And then there's a lot of other components. Let's kind of break those down too. I didn't want to dump all this stuff out because that would take forever to kind of pick it up, but just real quick, let's kind of break this down. So a lot of these are like action tokens and things. There's a gossip token in here somewhere that kind of keeps track of that. This is whose priority turn, first player turn right there, so that's kind of your priority token and things. And then there's a whole guide on like what each one actually does that I printed out and took a look at. These little plastic gems here are opportunity tokens. And then these are, I think, what you use to block in your health. And then once you get to the ice cream cone, supposedly, I think you're KO'd, but I'm sure there's some mechanic to where you get like bonus ice cream or bonus kind of rounds, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to count all the way out to here. Or maybe that's just their, oh, okay, that's just their strength and stamina. So obviously Bane is super strong, and then Harlequin only goes up to a 6. So you can't go to the stamps or you're immediately KO'd. That makes more sense. Okay. Still trying to kind of figure it all out, but I like, I like how it's just easy and intuitive. Like, oh wait, hey, that doesn't make sense. Oh wait, now it totally does. Okay, because tell you what, I really don't like getting board games and things where it takes forever to try to figure it all out, and it's just a nightmare. You have to look up a video and do all these things and watch along, and I'm just like, nope. So I really do like, the whole like token thing where they basically show you everything, like Batman hiding, Batman is Batman, not Batman, because you can go into some of those squares and you don't really know if there's technically a Batman there, which is kind of crazy. But that's basically all the components, and from what I see here, I'm pretty impressed with all of that for sure. So miniature wise, they didn't really want me like focusing on the miniatures, but I love miniatures, and I think we're all adults here and we can understand that these are prototypes. So yes, they are prototypes, but you can see they size up pretty well with some other popular heroic games out there. And of course, you could probably use these miniatures. They would size up well with the Batman miniatures game or a multiverse, depending on what you play. Pretty well, I think. Once you get them glued down to a base and such. So there's Batman, which I think is pretty cool in that iconic blue. And then some of all the villains are in a purple. Penguin doesn't stack up so well against a Primary Space Marine, but then they've got everybody. There's Poison Ivy, looking pretty fresh sculpt. It's very similar to her current sculpt, and then Two-Face, and here's Harlequin doing Harlequin stuff, of course. And then the guards are just dope. Like they all got like some really dynamic, like cool poses, or these guys. I don't know. I've seen a lot of like Batman cartoons and movies. I've never really been on the guard side. There's an inmate, and they always kind of look like they couldn't fight their way out of like a wet paper bag. But these guys, like straight up, like don't lock me in a room with this guy here, man. I don't know what would happen. I don't feel very safe. I don't feel like I could escape with some of these folks running around. And then there's, I guess this is a nurse. I forgot what she is, and the warden. And the warden's got a little club behind his back, a little nightstick, so to speak. So as far as the miniatures themselves go, even for prototypes, I think they're pretty dope. But I know, and here's Scarecrow. He's got a lot going on too. Very, very cool. And we saw Bane already, but there he is. And just to give you an idea of how ginormous he is. So these are cool. I'm sure there will be painted versions. There's Joker too. I'm sure there will be painted versions, or versions you can paint when the actual Kickstarter comes out, because supposedly all this is going to be made in plastic. So that's really neat. I wanted to show you the bottom of the box so we could glean some more details from it, but unfortunately it just says prototype on it. So all that to get to the bottom of the box. And no prize whatsoever. Oh well. So the Batman Escape from Arkham Asylum miniatures board game with some miniatures inside of it, will hit Kickstarter on the 26th of October. And I think, with a little like really cool, dope background music and stuff, hitting this game up with a couple of friends would be definitely really exciting. Unfortunately, it's not going to come out at Halloween season, but next Halloween, this might make a really fun game to kind of play, as it's definitely going to have a little bit of suspense, a little bit of uncertainty, because you don't really know what's happening in the game other than a few things you got to do to try to complete, the task and the escape plan. But it's kind of cool. Like, I like the idea. I like the implementation. I just wish I had a little bit more details to kind of share with you guys, but definitely check out the site, spikybits.com, and we'll have some links to the Kickstarter itself, of course, in the comments and in the description of this video, as soon as they become available, because this is pretty much all the information I have right now. I haven't even gotten to play the game yet, but hopefully in the near future we can dedicate some time to actually play this and give you our thoughts as well on that, coming up very, very soon. So that's it for this one. Thank you very much for watching our unboxing of the prototype and review / kind of first look at the new board game from Night Models. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can be the very first to like and comment on all our videos. If you liked that video feature, consider supporting us over at patreon.com and get back in the mail each month a miniature crate full of some of the stuff we review here, as well as some of the top 3D artist designs out there too, to help support what they're doing. Plus, discount coupon codes from some of those same manufacturers. They're yours to keep, whether you cancel or stay on. It's totally up to you. Obviously, we want to keep you as happy as possible. So check it out over at patreon.com/spikybits.